Don't forget to suck some titties.
The Google data breach. I think over 16. Of course, as I'm saying this, freaking auto. It's funny. I'm here talking about Google data breach, and my fucking Gemini on my fucking phone wants to do something like I'm talking to it. I'm not fucking talking to you. That is why we have this breach of data. Like, what are the fucking odds? I'm looking at that as I'm getting a YouTube notification, which is run by Google. I'm getting a Gmail notification run by Google. I'm getting a Google News notification as I'm starting to talk about Google. And then they wonder why they have a breach of data. Over 16 billion. You can't make this shit up. As my phone is going. Over 16 billion passwords, accounts potentially have been breached access, right? You know what's crazy is like every time these big breaches, I think there was T-Mobile, there's been phone companies, there's been like internet companies and stuff like that. And every time, you know, there was the big Ashley Madison breach, which that was a big thing because, you know, a lot of people lost their marriages. But what's crazy about this stuff is every time it happens, it doesn't even feel like a real story. Like, what I mean is, no one, like, thinks the world's ending. No one thinks that, oh, man, all my accounts are compromised. Like, all of our accounts are always compromised. There's somewhere on the dark web, something's being sold for something, you know. And with the state of America, they try to sell our accounts and stuff in our accounts. And I'm like, damn, we're actually losing money trying to scam this shit. But these big data breaches, and for some reason, I think for most people, it doesn't move the needle for them. Like, because we already have just accepted we have no privacy. We already accept that even when we have our private accounts that we put in passwords, that it's easily accessible. Just went in and out. Use Wi-Fi. You're easily susceptible. You go out in public, easily susceptible. It's on your phone, which can be targeted, easily accessible. So for most people, I think we've just we see it's like, oh, okay. It means nothing for most people. I think it's more of a fear. I think the whole point of these stories is, and I think like these anonymous hacker groups and these people that do this stuff, they actually mean well by it because they want, it's a reminder like, hey, just so you know, these companies, your stuff's not really secure. And not that we need a reminder, but it's like a noble thing in a weird way. And yeah, there's data thieves, there's people that are trying to take shit, but it's also the point of it is to expose, yeah, bro, no one's shit is safe. You have no privacy. Everything you search is being searched, watched, your patterns and behaviors and stuff. It's all being watched. It's all being heard. I literally, as I'm sitting here talking about Google, Gemini is literally just repeating, thinking I'm talking to it. It's ironic because I was looking for stories to talk about. And I go into Google. And I type in Google breach. And Google's like, yeah, here's our problems. They're like, we're making money and advertisement even when you're searching for shit that's bad about us. It's literally you're advertising your demise, but also at the same time, you're advertising that you're still making a shitload of money. I don't know how else to put it. But yeah, it's odd. Like, you read the story and yeah, like, you know, stock prices will go down, but the reality is it matters, but it doesn't really. People are going to buy the shit back up. That's the weird, fucked up world we live in. Is people look at value and we use tragedies to make things less valuable and then buy them at low prices. Like with Boeing, with these airplane companies, every time they have a crash and a lot of people die, their stock goes down. And then people buy a shitload while it's low, and it drives the price up, and then they sell it, and they profit off people's demise, off people dying and shit. And Google, there's going to be people making billions of dollars because As it's literally doing it right fucking now. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Oh my God. Like, you cannot make this shit up. I don't want to talk to Gemini. And it's sitting here copying my shit. It's literally listening to me. Well, I mean, I'm making a public podcast anyways, but it's listening before you guys can listen to it. Think about how insane that is. You can't make this shit up, man. The shit literally writes itself. Oh my God. But yeah, I think the moral of all that is these security breaches. I think after Snowden and all that stuff, and I think every time we just basically we just accepted that we don't have anything that's private anymore. People, underrated thing people don't take into account is stuff like Ring cameras. Well, it's also some of them are made and sponsored by Google too. Well, what do you know? People put them in their houses, and they have it for them watching inside of their own house, which is odd. You're like spying on your own family and shit. And like, just in case the 1 out of 20 years someone robs your house, but all you're doing is you're giving strangers the access, people that work there, and they can use your camera, they can use your video for personal data purposes. And they literally have imagery of inside your house. They have tracking devices and all that shit. And we just voluntarily, and it's been sold to us as security. And people put these things inside their fucking houses, bro. And then they're the same ones worried about data and security breaches. Like you're giving it up. You're throwing it back for them. You're making it easy. At least make them work like 50 first dates, But yeah. Welcome to episode, I don't even know what episode this is. Jeez, I'm on a roll recording this shit. Episode 346, 47, I don't fucking know, of the Often Be podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, most important ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Recording this on June 20th, 2025 Eastern for the archives. Yeah. Give it a goog. That's why I don't understand people that like paying for using their phones. It's weird. People that care about their security and stuff so much, they're the same ones that literally, now you have it where people pay on these kiosks, these POSs. You go to takeout places, and you can literally use your phone. It has your Wells Fargo card on there. And you just scan your phone. Or people have like Apple Pay, or they have like Google Pay. They have a virtual account where everything's in their phone. Just imagine how crazy it is that you're relying on thousands, tens of thousands, some people's cases, in a loosely Google account, in a phone that, people go, I could criticize a credit card, debit card. At least it's a physical thing. Yeah, it could be easily stolen, but you have in your phone, it's no different than the cloud. That people can get in the cloud. People can break into your phone from afar using Wi-Fi and stuff like that and get all the information they need. And we make it so easy these days. It's funny how security and fraud, with all the extra measure, how smart we've made technology, and we have more of it than ever before. Because all these technological advances were created to protect assets and stuff like that, and it's actually made everything more vulnerable for threats. Like some 14-year-old kid could go online right now and learn how to skim cards. People know how to, like, you go to gas stations, you got to be careful because if you pay at the pump and use your card, a lot of these gas stations, man, probably most of them, they at least have one or two pumps that have someone who has a skimmer in there, just stealing information all day, and we don't know about it. And it's easier than ever to get full deceptive. Everything that's convenient can create a longer, desperate inconvenience down the road. So yeah. Yepperoo. So, I remember I did see the movie The Internship, speaking of Google. And, yeah, it was a pretty good movie. It had Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn. It's about these two middle-aged guys who are salesmen. And they basically get fired or they're chasing a different opportunity. And they go online and they find an internship at Google. They want to start something different. They think like, hey, you know what? Google can use salespeople. And then they go there, and no one there wants them. They're old as fuck in their eyes. They're ancient. They don't provide any young value and stuff like that. And then they actually end up being exactly what Google needs, you know? And we ever get into a point in society where it does feel like, as much as I hate salesmen, there is a need for interpersonal connection in business that's missing for the most part. But yeah, good times. You know, I think I've talked about it before, but I don't understand why I get it. But if you're just wanting to watch decent quality movies and stuff like that, I really don't see the purpose of paying for a HBO Max, a Disney, or a any of these streaming services, Peacock, Hulu. When to be honest, there's a lot of good fucking movies on Tubi. I'll be honest. I mean, I know they make money off advertisement. Gotta kill, the advertisements. They're starting to kill everything, man. I was listening to a sports podcast last night, Colin Cowherd podcast, and like every segment, every new topic, him and this guy would talk about, like literally this 2 minutes into talking talk, they would get to the good part, and then it's a advertisement, minute long advertisement about this. Okay, 8 minutes later, game time. 9 minutes after that, Manscaped. 10 minutes after that, some underwear thing. And these advertisements, they really are starting to kill. They're really starting to kill the experience, man. Like, at least with TV, differences with TV is like you're expecting it. You're getting a different enhanced experience. Like with TV, you're watching a baseball game. Like, yeah, there's 10, 15 commercial breaks in a given night. But, you're getting different camera angles. You're getting commentary. You're getting analysis. You're getting, background knowledge of the teams, of what the coaches, you're getting a whole experience. Like, if I'm just listening to two people talking, and then in between, and then you're just throwing random advertisements in there. Like, that shit, it's getting old after a while. And there's criticism across the board. Even, people complain about the JRE having shit a lot of advertisements. Now, look, what I will say, when you have a deal with a company and stuff, they're inserting those ads. And Look, in a 3-hour podcast, like, I get it. You know, look, we got bills to pay. This, you know, we run a pretty heavy production. We fly people out. You know, we got to pay the bills around here. So, okay, fine. Over a 3-hour podcast, I could get it. If it's spaced out, I'm okay with it. You know, every 30, 40 minutes or so, yeah, it's annoying, but I'll be all right. But if it's a 50-minute podcast and you got 6 advertisements, like, fuck off. Respectively. You know, I love Call Her. I'm not telling him to fuck off by any means. Like, but it's starting to get to a point where they're really just, the podcasts are just excuses to have advertisement. When I think what, as consumers, what's getting annoying about it is, it was like, okay, we listen to podcasts and we're happy that they're getting advertisements. They're making money. They're growing the show and stuff like that. It's like the advertisements are lucky to have the exposure of the podcast. But now it's really like the podcasters feel like they're lucky to have the advertisements. And they're treating the advertisements more considerate than the consumer. And there's a way to go about it. I'm not saying don't have ads. I'm not saying, like, I get it. It's a lot of money and it's free money, you know, essentially saying. You know, you got follow prompts. I've done a few ads before, nothing of substantial level, so I know on a small scale of how it works for the most part. But it's getting to a point where, man, you listen to a show, you're really getting into it, and they're like 8 minutes into something. And then just like a random ad, and it kills the whole flow. Like, it really does. Like, they get back in the talk, and it kills, like, the whole getting drawn in. They do it at the worst points. I think these companies, these podcasts, they just need to do a better job in terms of placing them at better points. That's all. Like, I get it. You got to have the advertisements in the show. But if you're putting smack dab in the middle of when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers and leaving on a cliffhanger to talk about game time, I'm going to be fucking pissed. And I might change to watch something else. Because then we just fast forward it anyways. And they'll be sneaky about it. You know, some have the courtesy of being like, ad break. And you can skip it over. I understand why advertisements don't like when you do it. Because they want their advertisement to be heard, and they know no one wants to hear their advertisement. Which tells you everything about the ads. When they know no one really wants to hear this shit. You know? I'm not anti-ad. I'm just, you know, I speak for the people, you know. Like, there's, like, even, you know, you would think watching NBA Finals, like, yeah, there's advertisements on the court and shit, but it's not even that bad. Like, they're not, every time there's a timeout break. This timeout sponsored by Michelob Ultra. Like, you would think the finals, like, I would understand TV being excessive. Bro, these advertisements are, like, they are bitch slapping these podcasters. And they're bitch slapping them with a lot of money. So I'm not even mad at them, but there comes a point where if you are such at a level and you could just be like, nah, you know, we got to keep some type of integrity of the show because over time, this extra few $1,000s that we're making from this, people are going to get annoyed and stop really coming back to the show. I just think there's a way to do it, you know. So, yeah. You know, you got to pay the bills. And it's easy, quote unquote, money. But still, like, come on, man. It's just hard to get into the flow of things when it's just constant interruption of stuff that has nothing to do with what you're talking about. Just have, like, the show is sponsored, like, have an advertisement. This show is sponsored by Bud Light. You know, something like that. Like, Bill Simmons does it great. Like, yeah, they'll do a few advertisements during the show, but it's not in the middle of fucking when they're having a deep dive about the Game 6 reaction and what the fuck happened, you know? Chet Holmgren. Where the fuck are you at, Jimmy Neutron? You know? They're not doing it in the, like, it's like they have the advertisements around, like, the screen, and it's like, okay, you have the imagery and stuff like that. Or they'll do, like, he'll do an opening monologue when he does the episode. May have advertisement again, does the opening monologue about something. Then before he has a guest, then he'll do, like, a minute ad about something. And then do the guest, you know. Bro, this shit is just getting absurd, man. It really is. And what's annoying about it is the whole point of what made podcasting separate from TV and radio was we didn't have to listen to 30 minutes of ads all the time. And we would get different advertisements than we would get on TV. Now it's the same big shit that you get on TV. Like, old advertisements used to be like the infamous fleshlight, you know? It would be, you know, weird websites about kinky. It would be off the wall stuff that, like, they couldn't get on TV. So here's the avenue where, hey, we could pay you. You have a decent audience. We could pay you. Like, it's a unique thing. Now it's just like everyone's getting the same. Everyone's getting untucked. Everyone's getting manscaped. Everyone's getting, you know, fill in the blank beer company. Everyone's getting fill in the blank, you know, whatever. It's all the fucking same. It's all, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's the same fucking advertisements. It's like, Jesus, fuck. Now that being said, today's sponsor, C4, Jolly Rancher Watermelon. I'm kidding. They're not a sponsor. I actually think you could get in some real trouble if you even joke around about someone being sponsored that's not a sponsor. I mean, as long as you don't actually put in the description, sponsored, you know, but. You know, it's weird. Speaking of, I went down a weird rabbit hole yesterday. I don't know why. But everyone knows about the infamous Call Her Daddy situation years ago where Alice Cooper and Sofia Franklyn had their contract issues with Barstool. And Sofia, her boyfriend, weirdo at the time, fucked up the whole deal, alienated Alex and her. And Alex is like, hey, you know what? I do most of this shit anyway. So you know what? I like this deal. I'm going to take it. Fuck off. Like, I don't need 30% of it, because if we do this show good another year, we're going to get another big deal after that. And she's gotten 2 big ass deals after that. So, hey, you say what you want. It ain't my type of show, but she knows what the fuck she's doing. And, you know, like, for part of me, I feel bad for the Sofia girl. But at the same time, not at all. You know, she actually, you know, to her credit, it doesn't seem like she, like, is one of those. She's not too bitter about it. Like, I'm sure she still talks about it and stuff, but she's not sitting here, like, suing, like, you screwed me out of millions of dollars and stuff like that. She seems to be at peace and moved on and is doing her own thing. But, I mean, she's missed out on, you know, a couple $100 million potentially, you know. But with that being said, also what could be said is potentially, let's say she did stay on the show and it was just the original. They may have gotten one deal, but I don't know. Maybe her doing it by herself and doing it her way and stuff has elevated to a different way with her vision. Because chances are it probably would have stayed the same show of 2 girls talking about X, Y, and Z. And it becomes repetitive, habitual, and they have their core audience, but there's a lot of shows that have a similar type of show that they had. You know, look, I know a lot of shit. I've watched a lot of weird episodes of shit. Like, there's a podcast of horrible decisions, but spelled WHORI, with Mandy and this girl, Wheezy, I think. But basically, it's a similar two girls talking about sex and stuff a lot. Except, probably for a different audience. But it's the same type of show. And there's plenty of other shows where it's two girls talking about their life and sex experiences and stuff like that. Talk about men, dating, and all that shit. It's the same shit. It's just packaged different for a different audience. And I think maybe if they would have kept with that, we could see how those shows capped out. Like, there's only so far it can go. But because she made it more broad, more general, has ventured out to do more getting guests, more interview style, more of a attachment to her personality and what she wants type of thing. And her fingerprints all over it. She does all the editing, as far as I'm aware. She did all the editing before. And the other girl's like, well, I don't want you to tell other people I don't edit it. And she's like, no, we do it as a collaborative process. And Alex is like, if collaborative is me sitting in my room editing this show for 20 hours a week, yeah, I guess that's collaborative of my hands and my laptop. But, yeah, I don't really see that as collaborative. And so, I think the reason why it's elevated to level is because they broke up. It doesn't mean that Sofia was a bad person or like that, but it's pretty obvious. Her by herself and her vision and her not being too greedy. And that's the thing people sometimes forget. Like, they get that first initial wave of hitting it big. And they think they're trying to be business masters. They think they're all some business experts and stuff like that. They always want to be deemed as entrepreneurs and being good at business and stuff. They get too many other people involved telling, you're getting fucked from industry, all the people, you're getting below industry standard and stuff like this. Then they get a deal that's above industry standard. And now you're trying to ask for 30% of this revenue, this, a bar, this and that and the other. And now it's like, all right, well, if we're just going to give you all this shit and we get nothing out of it, like, we don't get nothing out of this, And sometimes being too greedy too fast. And part of seeing the bigger picture, like, hey, this is a really good deal. We get more than we got before. It's only for a year or two. We could grow this show and do things outside to bring in more money if we really want to. And then after this contract's up, we could be in a position to seek something significantly better, or we have enough money to create our own thing around the show. We could just create our own studio. We could create our own network type of thing. But people, they want all of the money then. It's like you were getting really good money at the time. And then you get the second contract potentially being offered. You were getting pretty significant more money. Plus other things attached to it. And one girl wanted more and more because she had people in her ear telling her X, Y, and Z. Another girl that actually did the editing, actually prepared and was the sole part of the show, is sitting there like, we don't really need all that right now. We just need to have a better deal than now and then venture out from there. And the girl who wanted so much so fast, all of it at once, now she's doing a much smaller show and has to do it from scratch when, as respectfully, it's never come close to what Alex is doing. And it really comes from entitlement. Like, the person that contributes less to the show is asking for more and more and doesn't want the public to be deemed that they don't do as much. That's why Alex is getting paid more. There's a reason why. Imagine, all right, you co-host with someone on the show. You do it's your equipment and stuff, and then you take the footage home, you do the editing, you put the stuff out, you do the posting, you do the titles, you go through it, edit for days and hours, whatever you're doing. Then you have to go through it again, do descriptions, timestamps. Then you have to, promote it. If you do that, you got to put all these different socials if you're really doing all that. And then someone during that whole time, during that week while you're spending 8 to 10 hours a day putting this shit together, and all they did was show up for the podcast once a week and, talked into a mic for an hour and a half. And they go home and they're like, hey, why don't we get paid the same? It's like, the fuck you mean? I'm literally doing like this shit's the hard part. But I think the moral of the story is really just, if you're just not so greedy so fast, you will get much more in return in what you're doing. And I'm not going to shove it in her face, because she's still doing pretty well herself. But at the same time, it's just be a lesson that, hey, that's why they always say it's about, in sports and baseball and basketball. You want a good first big deal, but it's really that second contract is where, because there's no limitations, there's no service time for baby. There's no, we own this of you, so you got to wait another 2 years of arbitration, all this shit. But here's a couple extra million for being a good sport about it. But then you hurt your knee, and then it's like, hey, and we're going to let you walk. And you literally can't walk. But it's really about that second deal. And that first deal would have been really good. It would have put you, even if your first deal isn't blockbuster, it's about that first deal putting you in position to where you have more freedom and flexibility to say yes or no to a deal you really want in the future. If it's a couple year deal, it's a couple year deal. Then it's a couple years of, fine, you're getting $1 million instead of 1.5 million. Great. And then now look, Alice Cooper, she got what, a $60 million deal from Spotify. And then she signed with SiriusXM for $120 million. Respectively, the bitch is killing it. Respectively. I know that's old news and shit, but it's weird because it randomly has come up in my timeline. I watched a video, not a video essay, but a person reliving the situation and what really happened. And for some reason, I listened to a 20-some-year-old girl in California who worked in the industry, and she had the California Valley voice. And then Alex, and I listened to that for 30 minutes, and I was captivated. I'm like, yeah, girl drama. This is what my life's come to. Living drama for 4 years ago. That had nothing to do with me. I kind of like it. But it was kind of it's a reminder that greed is what it kills you, man. You get just a sliver of, and then people, they think that being extra difficult in negotiations is a good tactic. If you're going to be the extra difficult one, you better make sure you're the extra productive one. Because when they ask, so who actually edits the podcast? And then you both have different answers. There's a problem there. So yeah, it's not shading the girl or nothing like that, but it is what it is, Just giving out game, as the kids say. There was a recent, I think this happened in Atlanta on a turnpike or on a roundabout on the interstate type of thing. There was a man who stopped up traffic in the middle of like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was standing on a ledge, and basically he jumped off of it. I think he ended up jumping onto a inflatable thing because the police were there. I think they had I don't know if he hit the inflatable. But, you know, it was weird because seeing the news story and people recording. It's weird because there was like, obviously, you're being stopped up in traffic. People are going to pull out their phones and record. Why the fuck are we sitting in traffic for an hour and a half not moving at 5 o'clock in the afternoon? So, yeah. But there's people like below, like streets, like on the interstate below, pulled over, got out of the car. People recording the guy on the ledge. And it's weird because like all these people are going out of the way to record a guy who's literally about to splatter. And what's weirder is just the people are recording their commentary on it. Is just like, woe is me. And it's always weird. Like anytime, I notice it with girls a lot too. But for some reason, someone else in pain makes them freak out. And then they make the attention about themselves. It's like there was a body that washed up to shore. And people were pulling the body out. It was on beach. And it looked like he drowned or whatever. But, you know, they pulled him out and they were trying to do... And this girl, like, you just see in the corner, like, for no reason, she just starts screaming and hysterical. Like it was her son or something. Instead of being like, oh my... Like, she just started crying. Everyone started looking at her. And it's like, this is the person that's, you know, on the verge of dying. And you're making about yourself about someone you don't even fucking know. And people are making about this guy about to jump off. Like, you know, I would hate to see this. This is not what God intended. Like, you know, all this stuff. And, oh, I don't even know what I would do if I were to see this. It's like, now how about you don't pull out your phone? How about you get back in your car and keep driving so you don't have to see it? You are actually on the street below where you don't have to stop. You're not stuck in traffic. You actually were lucky to not be in traffic. So keep it fucking moving. It's weird, like these events, somehow people find a way to when they start recording or they start, they make it about themselves. They make it about how it's going to traumatize them. It's like, he's the one that's going to fucking splatter if he jumps. Why are you worried about you? You don't know the guy. I'm not saying don't feel compassionate, you know. But you're going out of your way to be deemed like, oh my God, what this is going to do to me. It's like, it's not going to do anything to you. You'll be fine. It's crazy world we're in, man. People are offing themselves left and right. People are really losing their minds out here. It's kind of scary. It's kind of cool. Not the offing yourself part. But, you know, it makes life interesting, you know. Sometimes things are too smooth sailing for a while. Not a lot of hostility. To be honest, we haven't had a real war until past couple weeks, I guess. In like, 15 years. We haven't really felt national security threat. And these are all good things. But sometimes people get a little too secure about that. And then they dwell on insular. We create our own problems in America. And we create our own extreme poverty for no reason. We create a lot of greediness in government. There's nothing more funny than these Senate channels. We all know the C-SPANs and stuff. And they'll always be when they're questioning people. For some reason, people voluntarily go to hearings that they didn't even really have to go to, and they just get scolded. And And these congressmen, because they know if they do it a certain way, they're going to go viral and it's going to sound good in a clip. They'll say things like, "Oh, so you thought so you really thought, I don't know, like, oh, you really think separating families was a good answer? How would you like if that was your family?" And then you get people online, "Yes." Be like, "Remember in 2016 when you passed a bill?" And it's like some random thing like, that was in a different state, different problems and all that shit. But okay, yeah, I guess you could talk about that bill. And it sounds good. And then you realize in government and in these congressional hearings and these voluntary hearings that really it feels like Maury and Jerry Springer, but just the stars are the people in these seats asking questions, and then they don't do anything else. They talk about the issues with poverty, and they throw out a bunch of numbers about unemployment, and they don't pass any bills for 3 months to make a difference. But hey, they have thoughts and they have a vision, and they say it to the world, and then they don't do anything to make it better, But, neither here nor there. I think I would be a good mayor, John Mayer. I mean, I can't be any worse than Tiffany Haynard, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would definitely use your taxpaying dollars to go to New York. But, on a budget. But it feels like with mayor and stuff like that, it really feels like there's no real barrier to entry. That's the beautiful part about it. There's no qualifications. It's weird how the only qualifications, to apply to work at, a retail store, they ideally would prefer that you have years of knowing how to fold clothes, knowing how to work a computer system, knowing how to work price changing and stuff like that. The experience, to work at a warehouse, proper footwear. Ideally, do you know how to use a forklift? Do you have a CDL if you're, all this stuff. To be a governor, working any government official, all you need to be is an age, a citizen, and be able to pay a lot of money for ad campaigns. That's literally the qualifications. There's no requirement that you have to have been part of the House of Representatives before you become a senator. There's no requirements that you have to be, at least working in some local city office before you work for the state office. There's no barriers to this shit. There's no you have to be a local judge before you become a Supreme Court judge. It's all just, hey, is there enough people that like you and want to vote for you? Do people just want change enough that you represent what that change ideally looks like in someone's eyes? It's all just selling, Oh, baby, I look good in here. Apparently Timbaland, a lot of people aren't happy because he's creating an AI artist. But are we really surprised that Timbaland wants someone to sound like AI? Yep. I'm bringing sexy back. Yep. I mean, he get AI. I mean, think about it. Really, the whole point, AI is really just a cost effectiveness thing. I mean, I know AI is technically not free, but imagine, maybe it'll actually balance out pricing for artists. Like, imagine someone paying, $150K for a verse. Like, I'm paying $150K a verse for this trash ass rapper. I get some chat GPT to at least say words that's legible, you know? He created an AI artist. And I know people aren't fans, but I'm not a fan of it. Like, I don't really want to listen to AI music. It defeats the purpose of creativity and original thinking and stuff like that. And it's just a way for labels to not pay artists. Like, instead of paying this, folk singer, let's just not pay a folk singer, but get the folk stream numbers. But I think it's funny how people are surprised that people that make instrumentals would just want an AI artist. Like, they're creating electronic beats. Like, you could literally make a whole beat without touching an instrument these days. If you have saved sounds, if you could just mimic sounds with your voices and stuff like that. So I don't know why people are surprised that a producer who's probably tired of working with complicated artists all the time is like, you know what? Let me just get a bitch that won't bitch to me about something. Hey, Tim's, that was a nice beat, but I would like some more 808s. And it's like, go to fucking Pharrell, you bitch. Don't worry, Pusha T, he's harmless. Travis Claus minus the ho-ho. And look, I'm not big on the Pusha T beef with Travis guy. It just seems like anyone that's correlation with Drake. Pusha T still's got a problem with you. But, I mean, to be fair, I've never been a big Travis Scott fan. I don't really get the appeal. I'm not saying he doesn't have songs that hit. I'm not saying from an instrumental standpoint. But like Pusha T said, I like rappers that rap. When I listen to Travis Scott, I've never really thought of him as someone who's like rapping. Like, he says words that rhyme, but he's not rapping, if that makes sense. He's not like speaking from the heart. He's the definition of someone that makes music to fill a void and fill an agenda for what he's trying to get an audience for. He's not trying to make music that's him and for people to connect with him on a personal level. He's trying to portray an image. That's where, like him, Lil Uzi and stuff like that, like their concerts, it's very, look, it has a lot of demonic undertones to it. Whether Travis really like practices that stuff, there's definitely an intentionality, whether that's him or someone or people above him, where everything is designed to not really focus on the words you're saying. It's more about what you feel, what the music, how it's psychologically, what it's doing to your body. The words are very obsolete. No one's ever going to make an all-decade book that had the top 100 verses, and Travis Scott's probably never going to be a part of that. That's not an insult. He's great at what he does for an audience, I guess. But he's not like Pussy. He's not a rapper, if that makes sense. But yeah. And then there's going to be people online, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know music and shit. And I'm just like, okay. Everyone that knows music, though, everyone knows what we're saying. Like, we know when someone can drop bars or not drop bars. Travis Scott, I've never thought for a second, like, man, this guy really can drop some bars, man. Not for a second did I think that. Notice how, like, all of his big songs are features. Yeah, he has songs that are big without features, but he is the definition of, because he's on, I call it the other artist effect, I guess you could call it, where we've convinced ourselves because someone collabs with a lot of big artists and because they're on albums with big artists, we automatically assume that they should just be lumped in that group. And Travis Scott should never be lumped in with Drake. He should never be lumped in with Kendrick. I mean, I would even say he shouldn't even be lumped in with Big Sean. I said it. I think Big Sean's a legitimate lyricist. Travis Scott he's more about like the experience, I guess. And I get music is more than just words and stuff like that. But you could definitely tell artists that rely heavily on things because they don't want their weak points to be highlighted. And at the end of the day, when it comes to rap and really just music in general, at the end of the day, you have the greatest instrumentals. You can have the greatest guitar solos. You can have the greatest drum beats. You can have the greatest everything. The best songs of all time are always when the words resonate. It's not about being the most clever writer. It's not about having a bunch of double entendres. It's not about saying some deep shit. It's not about saying some psychological. It's not about saying some social issues or stuff like that. But it's music that resonates with people that they can actually sing along to. So, what the fuck do I know? Yeah. It's not my beef. It's beyond beef. Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, I don't know. I do not know where to go from here. Do you know who you are? I know. Trust issues. I'm locked in, bro. I think it would be really cool to do like a full podcast with like 3 or 4 guys. That sounds sus as fuck. But I've thought about it recently, just like inviting the boys over. Be like, hey guys, we're just going to talk shit. And be like, okay, Clint. I think, there's this thing where you do a show so long by yourself. You live a very isolated life. You talk to yourself a lot. Like, it's weird. Here's a true story. You want to know how off and weird my life is? You're probably like, no, I don't. I'm like, well, here we go. I went to Quik Trip yesterday. I went to just pick up a couple energy drinks. I went inside. It's probably like 11 a.m., something like that. It's weird when you don't talk to anyone all day. You forget how to respond to regular questions. And then you just lie for no reason. I was wearing a jacket and a beanie. Granted, it was sweating outside. I was sweating because it was hot outside. The guy in the front, it's Quik Trip. They're always nice for the most part. And he's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. And he points to my head. And he's like, you hot in there? I'm like, for some reason, instead of being like, yeah, I was like, well, actually, I work at a Coca-Cola fridge. I don't know why. I work at a Coca-Cola warehouse, and we have these fridges. So, I'm just used to wearing the jacket. He looked at me, and he's like, oh. I don't know why I said that. I'm just like, I just couldn't say like, yeah, I just like wearing this jacket when it's hot outside. I just lied for no fucking reason. I work at a Coca-Cola warehouse where they have fridges that I'm in all day. Doesn't even make any fucking sense. It doesn't at all. And for some reason, that moment, when you isolate, you're like, I gotta create something that's not there. I gotta lie about something that means absolutely nothing. Because you know what? It's harmless. It's a stranger. I'll probably see him again, but probably never broach that subject again. And I go about my day and never have to see that person the rest of the day. So it's a lie that doesn't matter, but it makes your life a little bit more entertaining, which probably is a sad state when your idea of making something more entertaining is lying about where you work. As I'm wearing a jacket that has a complete different business logo on it. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, when you do this for a long period of time, and like I've been home alone for probably like the past 4 or 5 days, whole place to myself, being an absolute piece of shit, and you just have this thing where it's pretty isolating. You start talking to yourself, you realize like 2 or 3 days go by and you realize you have not had a single word spoken to another person. You have not had a meaningful conversation in weeks. You don't even make eye contact with people because you're used to just being isolated. You live this very snowball isolated life that you're uncomfortable just telling people the truth about what you actually do. It's an odd thing. It's a weird snowball cycle. I don't know, what is it? Not a Mandela. It's probably some term, some effect where a man in isolation for too long period of time, everywhere he goes, you could tell the isolation that's taken over. Because it's like this bubble around you, right? Like nothing makes sense outside of that bubble. Everything's an interruption. So, yeah. It's cool beans, bro. Cool beans. Oh, out of C4. Time to blow this bitch up. Yeah. I need to do a drunk pod, man. The drunk pods. Not the completely wasted pods, because you know it's weird. I forgot in my library, in my YouTube library, I have quite a bit of unposted videos. A lot of them aren't podcasts, but there's a few. There was one I forgot to post for whatever reason, and I listened to it the other day, and I'm like, I think there was a reason why I didn't post this. It was like a year and a half ago. It was like episode 100 something. And then I listened to it. I'm like, I can't tell if I was drunk in this or I can't tell if I just can't speak. That's a weird place where it's like, I don't even know who this guy is. It's weird when you look at older versions of yourself. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? And then you look at yourself now and you're still like, who the fuck is this guy? It's an endless cycle, man. Kind of like an endless cycle of Ashton Kutcher evading these Diddy stuff. It is kind of weird, you know, that Ashton has this great, you know, for the longest time, he was like a national, quote unquote, hero is a strong word. But he was nationally beloved because of his efforts and work for having an his good friend that he partied with for years and years probably was a big advocate for that. Now, I'm not going to give the man the benefit of doubt. Now, what I will say, I think two things can be true. It does feel like Ashton is passionate and cares about that stuff. Like, I don't think you create a whole organization, do all that, and you actually don't. Maybe his experience with Diddy at that time in his life. Because to be fair, all the pictures and videos of him being seen with Diddy out in public, they are pretty older ones, like early 2000s. That 70s show type of range. Maybe a little bit after that. Not advocating his defense of Danny Masterson or anything like that. But maybe he created because he saw like the early Hollywood. He saw the exploitation of just how, women are treated in Hollywood, or how young kids that come up in this industry, they could be taken advantage of. Maybe he heard the stories and stuff like that, and he actually cared and wanted to create something. Now, to create an organization and act like you hate and fight all that, and then having close connections with someone and never have spoken out against it or something like that, because maybe they have something on you, he's holding blackmail towards something, I don't know. And he's completely disappeared. And there were rumors when all this stuff came out that him and his wife Mila were, like, they were not separated, but they were not living in the same house at that point in time. Maybe she was uncomfortable, was unsure about everything. I don't know. But it's definitely where there's smoke, there's fire. But I don't think that also takes away any efforts he made progress towards actually fighting the child exploitation and stuff like that. Like, maybe I'm crazy. Like, maybe I'm giving too much benefit of doubt. I do just have a hard time believing he would create this whole organization that no one asked him to create and didn't actually care about the issue. But that doesn't absolve of anything he may have done at those Diddy parties with potential females or whatever may have happened with Diddy. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he saw how much baby oil there was there. It's like, man, these kids, the baby oil is supposed to be for the kids, I don't know. But yeah. And that's the thing, like, I this is where I think PR goes wrong, is these PR, they always think that speaking less, letting things pass through, and, don't fight the storm, let the storm rain out, and then come out with statements and slowly enter back into the world and society, go rogue for a while. But, the thing is like, if you're truly innocent of something and you truly didn't do what's being alleged or accused, and you don't say anything, people are always going to be skeptical. At the very least, you could just say, like, hey, this didn't happen, and I'm going to stand by that. It at least gives people the impression of, like, hey, I'm not just going to let people talk about something that I didn't do. This is too serious of a thing. This isn't like, oh, I was accused of, cheating on my wife or something. Not that that's not serious, but, I think someone would rather be cheated on than find out that their partner was doing things with kids. Or I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying he did things with kids, but you know what I'm saying. So I think there just comes a point where, like, hey man, if you didn't do it, these things that is being alleged, then just come out and be like, nah, this didn't happen. Stop saying I did this shit. I did not fucking do this shit. And then guess what? Boom. Ain't no worries for the rest of your days. It's all problem free philosophy. Oh, Diddy's my baby. Yeah. Did he do it? Yeah. I think I'm going to wrap it up there. Yeah, bro. All right. That was episode 340 something. I don't even fucking know. Of the Offbeat Podcast, Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, and the notification bell, most important, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah, have a great day, morning, night, evening. Me.